I'm Val.
I'm Ty.
And this is a Multiplane podcast. And we were just having a little conversation before we went live thinking, how many years have we now been doing this? So I was going to our Facebook page because it will tell us when we started it. And that would let me know like how long we've been doing this. But I think we're going into our third year, right?
Yeah.
Because we started, and I want to say though, we started like in like a January or February
of 2020.
Was it 2020 or 2019?
It might have been.
I'm gonna go to
it's
the
gonna
website.
show you.
Yeah, it's just that there's a lot of things happening on our website right now because we have a lot of things going on. And I'm just thinking like, we've been doing this for so long now. And so when we first started this, I just want to give everybody like a little behind the scenes of my procrastination of being a podcaster. I was like, I'm doing some podcasts now. And Ty, how did we meet? Like
So,
randomly, how?
Randomly at Wizarding Days.
Yeah. The first year?
The
2018?
Yeah.
2018.
2018, met at Wizarding Days.
That was an event that I ran. Oh yeah, you were a vendor.
Doing Wizarding World replica pieces that you could have purchased, but...
Yes. I think I have one. Somewhere.
At one point you had the wand, yeah.
Yeah, I have the wand.
And then basically, I had a concept and wanted to talk about Disney, and I had never podcast. I hadn't kind of worked with that kind of stuff, but I'm like, I know films, I know animation, I know some of the behind the scenes makeup stuff, and I love Disney. And then I'm like, who is the one person that I know that has some experience here? And I was talking to you, kind of getting some, points and tips and whatnot, and then you're like, hey, Curiosity, what is your like show gonna be about? Oh, I'm gonna talk about Disney, like film, parks, books, whatever. And then just for a while, you just on Facebook and the messaging, you see the dots kind of sit and pulse. Val messages me back and she's like, oh, I have the exact same outline for that exact show. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, you can do it because you probably have way more connections and way more stuff to contribute.
I suckered you. I suckered you into thinking I knew exactly what I was doing.
And so from that point, I was like, oh, okay, I will let you have this. You can go do the Disney thing. I'll find something else. But then Val's like, I need a co-host. And I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I don't know if I'd go as far to call me a co-host. I'm more like a glorified geek who can just chime in.
I mean, now I'm the co-host and you're like the main host.
No.
Because you know way more than I do. I mean, I think people always think that I know so much about Disney because I worked for Disney, because every time I go to FanX or whatever, like it's always Disney stuff. I go to Disneyland a lot. But again, I try and tell everyone I'm a surface nerd. So I don't do the deep dives that Ty does. And Brad says, hi guys, I will comment if I can, but give any passes to someone else, please, at this time. I don't know. I think that's an old one. I think that's old. I'm not giving away any passes.
Show.
No passes today. But yeah, so I'm a surface nerd. I know exactly as much as I see in movies, as I see in the park. Sometimes, I mean, I do read articles and stuff, but like Ty takes deep diving and knowledge to like the third degree, which is really cool because I think that there are people like me out there, which we've seen all the movies, we enjoy the movies, we go to the park, we like to read some stuff. And then there's some people like Ty who they read all the books. They have the comic books. They have the movies. They deep dive into articles. Like an article comes out and he's like, hey, Val, did you see this? No, I did not. Specifically, I try not to read articles because I have to write reviews. And so I tend to find, and I figured this out early in my my critic career, is that when I read other people's articles on the movies or the shows before I get mine out, I tend to, you get inspired by
You
other
echo.
people, right? And
Yeah.
I like to be inspired, and I like my eyes to be open to ideas. So like when Ty and I talk, I love to be able to take that, and like I did my thing on Good Things Utah on Doctor Strange, and I gave them a map to the multiverse, and we're going to get into this, but Ty was right about so many things that happened in the movie that I didn't want to give any spoilers away, but I added some of the movies that he told me that we should add from our podcast last week. And it's like that. Like, I like to learn, but I don't want to take someone else's thoughts. Taking tools and passing them on so other people can be enlightened as well is one thing. But Ty does the deep dive so that I don't have to, basically. But yeah, so I don't know on our page where to find how long we've been doing this, because I can't, I'm sure as soon as we're off the air, I will be able to find it. But if somebody else can find it, I don't know. But anyway, so I think we've been doing this almost 3 years. And I keep telling Ty before we go live on every show, at some point, I am going to add, we have music for our podcast. I bought the music. We edited the music. We picked the music before we even started our first podcast. I have yet to use the music.
And it's magical, you guys.
So I'm saying it out loud here. I will have the music before our next podcast. Not the one that's coming up Monday, because that will be a multi-podcast. Not a multiplane podcast, but multi-podcast together to form this multiverse of podcast chatter when we talk about the multiverse of madness.
Oh, I can just imagine me and Neil right now.
You and Neil. Oh my. So you and Neil and Tracy. So Tracy is from Movies That Make Us. You're from Multiplane Podcast. And then Neil has been a friend of both shows and a friend of all of ours for such a long time. He is a fantastic nerd, a fantastic cosplayer, just a really fantastic human and dresser, by the way. And so what were the reactions just of everyone, like, right out of the movie?
Oh, fantastic. Everyone loved it.
Like you, Neil, and Tracy, were you just like, ah!
Yeah, we were kind of just naming off like, oh my gosh, this and then this and then this. And Neil was super happy with a lot of things that happened character-wise and like specific to how their abilities and their looks and the acting that went into it. Just a heads up, guys, we are going to do the deep dive.
We are
in the multiverse next week in our multi podcast that we're going to be doing with all those guys. So basically, I'm not going to be doing a huge deep dive and spoilers with this one, but man, we were all just ecstatic. We were all super satisfied. It was one of those movies that we all walked out of that we were like, man, we had some worries and some expectations, but this just, it hit it.
I was not satisfied, so I'm really excited about this conversation.
You weren't? You were not satisfied? Okay.
There are two main points in the movie, two main things that I'm going to bring up that I felt like was lacking. And one of them, I felt like they really missed an opportunity that is irritating me a little bit. But no, I like the movie. I saw it. I've seen it twice now. So I sandwiched seeing it for the first time, and then I went and saw Everything Everywhere All at Once. And then I watched Multiverse again. And so all these multiverse movies, one after another. And I thought that was actually a good experience to see both of those movies. If you haven't seen, is it Everything Everywhere All at Once, right?
Okay.
With Michelle Cho. Let me make sure I keep calling it, and I'm writing my review of it today. Yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once is basically a movie with starring Michelle Yeoh. Why did I not say that right? Michelle Yeoh, and then K. Hugh Kwan. Remember, he is from me get this right before I do this. So he's from Goonies and Indiana Jones, the kid that's like,
Yeah.
that's what I said, booby trap. So he's the main character in it. But he also, I believe, helped write the film. Let me make sure here. He had some more stuff to do it. He was fantastic. And James Hong is in it, and Jamie Lee Curtis is in it, and Stephanie. How do you say HSU again? I always say her last name wrong.
Stephanie, here I'm looking it up. HSU.
Yeah, she's from The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, who I love that show, and she is fantastic in that
Is it
series.
show?
Maybe. I never say it right, and I feel bad.
Or
But anyways, it's a great movie. If you have not seen it, go see it. It has like a 97 on Rotten Tomato.
really?
Yeah. I mean, if it doesn't get nominated for a lot of things come award season, I'm gonna be like super sad. The only weird thing about it is that there's people that have hot dogs as fingers, and it creeps me out. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. They have to use their
Okay.
feet for everything. They have these big, long hot dog fingers. It's gross. Anyway, so 2 really great multiverse movies. We are going to deep dive into it on Monday. We would love for you to join us live 7:00 on the Facebook, on our YouTube. Join in the conversation. Let us know what you think. Get mad at me for what I don't like about it. Or get mad at Ty for what he loves about it. I don't know. I've had some split people. Some people didn't love it, and some people think it's one of the best movies ever made. So
You're gonna hate me because the comparison that I've been putting up is what I watch No Way Home or Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
I would take Multiverse of Madness over No Way Home any day.
See, and I would take No Way Home, and I think that's the difference between us, and that's totally okay. But the thing is if they don't want us to compare those movies, don't put them so close together. They knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's what I was trying to tell people on Good Things Utah is that if you think that you love No Way Home, and so you're going into this movie with that same feeling, it's not the same feeling. It's not the same movie. And I really like that it's not. I really like that both movies are so different. And I love the direction that the director took. The only reason, so this is the difference between us, and I think this is such a great comparison because I am a more earthbound superhero lover, and those stories, I gravitate to those, I connect to those. Ty is a very like, you get into all of the mystical and like I don't know. What would you say? Because it's
Otherworldly.
It's otherworldly. And I'm not saying I don't like it. And he's not saying he doesn't like Earthbound, but he connects more to those. I connect more to these. And those stories, even though they both connect and they both have Earth, and one is more than the other in each of them. And so I just connect more with Spider-Man No Way Home than I do with Multiverse of Madness. However, it doesn't mean that I don't respect the movie and what it means. So we're going to get into that.
Yeah, there's nothing in the MCU like it. So
yeah, no, there's nothing. And I feel like that's what we felt a little bit about Ragnarok when Ragnarok happened.
Yes.
When we experienced the first Guardians of the Galaxy, it was that same thing. Like, there's nothing to compare it to. And so all these great things, right? But Multiverse of Madness is, I mean, it is kind of the first horror film of the MCU. And so many great effects and visuals, and we'll get into all of that because I have some specific questions to ask you about that when we get into that on Monday. But today we're going to deep dive into the Moon Knight. But before we do that, there's a lot of stuff going on. Celebration is coming up. We have Star Wars at the Parks coming up. We have Kenobi and all of the
yeah.
I feel like they're dropping a trailer every week for Kenobi.
But so kind of dabbing into Star Wars, and I want this to become a goal for us. We have to make it to Star Wars Nights.
Okay.
Here soon. That's what we're going to talk about for a minute, Do you have any idea what this is or like what goes on?
So, I mean, Star Wars Nights, they've called it a couple of different names throughout the years, haven't they? Because it hasn't always been Star Wars Nights, but it's always been Star Wars themed for the past 5 years.
Yeah, and I'm just barely catching on to how big and how awesome this event is.
Yeah.
So, if you guys don't know what this is, it's Disneyland, and I don't know if Disney World does it. I think it's just a Disneyland after hours
Yeah, it's
party.
Disneyland After Dark Star Wars Night. And
So,
it's May 3rd, 4th, and 27th.
oh, and the 27th. There's still one more night, but I'm guaranteeing you tickets are sold out. So
I'm
this
gonna check.
party is again, it's after hours. The party starts at 9 p.m. until 1 a.m. in the morning. But you can start entering the park around 6 p.m. You kind of wonder, okay, you go to these different events like Oogie Boogie Bash, Christmas night. I think they did Christmas nights too, I think is what it was called.
Tickets are sold out.
Yeah. No shocker, because this is only 3 nights versus how many other nights those other events get. But this
Yeah.
is where you can show up. There's specialty foods, character
Mhm.
meet and greets, shows, demonstrations,
Fireworks.
the fireworks show. Oh, if you guys haven't, like, go on YouTube or somewhere where you can watch the fireworks. And I know some people might be like, oh, it's just Star Wars music with their fireworks. I'm like, nah, it's a
Yeah, they
little bit
do
more
they
than that.
do a little more than that, and it's 134 per person for a ticket for 6 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Which, after doing like my homework and looking at everything there,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a decent price. So the Halloween party is 116.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Brad, thank you for bringing that up. You can also come and cosplay for this event.
Yeah, it says that you can have, they don't call it wearing costumes, but they say that you can wear inspired attire. It
Yeah.
says dust off those lightsabers, dress up as your favorite Star Wars character, see costume guidelines. So there are some guidelines to what you can and cannot wear, but this is the time where if you paid so much money for that lightsaber and those costumes that you can actually go and do this. So I think we need to plan for this for next year because I think tickets go on sale in January.
Okay. I
And
will
so this
be
is something like we'll have to do in advance so that we can go and cover this because I would go. Yeah. Yeah, I think we need to put it on our calendar. And by we I mean you need to be in charge of that.
okay. And I'm like, I think we could do. Would you want to do 1 or 2 nights of this?
2 nights. If
Two
we're gonna
nights.
be there, yeah, if we're gonna be there,
Yeah.
let's do 2
So
nights,
try to
man.
buy tickets for the 3rd and the 4th. Yeah. Brad, here's the
Yeah, say
thing though,
so.
like I'm confident in saying I'm kind of a seasoned vet when it comes to ticket drops for Disney. My experience with Oogie Boogie and getting the dates that I want and everything for the last few years, I'd
Well, you're gonna have
say,
to help me with that because I have to. We're going out for Sammy's birthday, which means the first day we're gonna be there is Halloween, and I need to get that ticket as soon as it drops.
yeah,
It drops. It drops in 20 days, I believe.
yep. So I will definitely give you a heads up and try to get that because Oogie Boogie Bash is something not to miss. But yeah, so let's plan ahead to maybe, well, not maybe, we're gonna have to cover 2 nights because it's a lot of pick and choosing when you do these Disney events.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe
do
we
you
can
want to,
get some people to go with us. Maybe you guys. Maybe we can
yeah.
do like a multiplane podcast meetup. That would be fun.
So it's like you have to pick and choose. There's food, there's again the shows, the demonstrations, the character meet and greets. You are not going to be able to hit them all in one night. So it's a pick and choose game on what is most fun for you. The other
Mhm.
thing that I loved about this, seeing some of the other media content, was so they have, like the saber that I went and built that's the expensive one at Savi's workshop, right? They
Mhm.
have these mid-tier sabers because they have the cheap little plastic ones that you flick and the saber comes
I
out.
have one of those.
You can get those in Tomorrowland still over
Mhm.
at the little custom thing by Star Tours. they have a mid-tier one that has the same awesome light effects as the expensive one, but with a pre-done handle. So like
Mhm.
it's Kylo or Luke, Vader, Obi-Wan, one of those saber hilts, and you just see extra points around the park of just cargo things full of these sabers. And to see all the sheer just numbers and colors throughout the park, the Star Wars cosplay group are hitting it as well. Wow, yeah, that's what I'm saying too. Like, so I have a full-blown Jedi outfit. Val has her Mando suit. Like, if we showed up,
I need to update my Mando suit.
either way, or you know what?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
could easily
No,
get a
my
Jedi
helmet just
outfit.
needs to be redone. No, my helmet just needs to be redone.
Like, these are things that if you're a big Star Wars fan and you want some awesome photos, even just showing up in Galaxy's Edge
Mhm.
and having that backdrop behind you, I would say is worth some of the shots that you're going to get. But some of the characters that I had noticed, you have Jawas, you have R2D2 rolling around, which I can't remember. I think R2D2 regularly rolls around. So
Mhm.
does Chewbacca and Rey. Let's see. Over by the droid depot, they add BB-8, who's not normally there.
Mhm.
There's just tons of fun stuff, and the food alone, I was like, holy cow. Darth by Chocolate is a part. It's
Oh.
like a chocolate cake parfait that I'm like, oh man, that's calling my name. And there's a few food items that are still going to be there after the Star Wars nights, so you'll be able to try them. Hopefully, Val, hopefully they're still on the menu when you hit it in October, because
Yeah, that
that'd be
would be
awesome to get some
awesome.
shots on that.
I had my Star
Um,
Wars ears on the wall, and I guess I knocked them down. Oh, there they are.
oh, there you go.
I think I need new batteries because they usually light up.
And I just feel like with every year, this thing could get bigger and just a lot
Yeah.
more fun.
Well, they've been doing it for a while, and I've just never been able to go because I usually don't go because May
In
is a
May.
crazy
Yeah.
time. Like, I usually do not go in May, and I'm going to be in Anaheim for the big anime convention at the end of June. And I was going to get tickets to go into Disneyland, and it's a high point time to go. Tickets are so expensive, and I'm just like, there's going to be so many people there. Do I actually want to go during this
What are you
time?
going to be able to do for the day? Yeah.
Exactly, because it really is going to be like, hey, I'm here for one day, and I know that people go during this time, but I usually don't. I usually try and go during off season. We haven't gone during Halloween in a really long time, but again, we're going to be there just Halloween day. But then the week after Halloween is usually pretty good because everybody just tried to come for, the Oogie Boogie Bash and all of that. And so that first week of November is usually pretty chill. It's just that Halloween day is going to be
We
a little
typically hit it
crazy.
earlier, like end of September, too. We try to hit the very first Oogie Boogie Bash party of the season.
Hmm.
It's not over crowded. It's actually probably the most perfect time to go. But yeah, Star Wars Nights. This just seems like something fun that we need to try to get into. And if any of you guys have the opportunity to, it's something worth checking out.
Yeah,
Definitely
yeah,
worth the extra admission.
for sure. Have you watched all of the Kenobi trailers?
Yeah,
Are you up to date on your Kenobi trailers? I
I am.
love now how you can just go to Disney Plus
And
and
they're
they
right
have
there.
the Kenobi section and you can just go watch everything Kenobi and it's right there. We're trying to finish watching. We're trying to get through the second season of Luke Cage. And I can't remember. How did I not think this was the most boring show ever? The characters I love these actors. Okay. I love the actors. I love the idea of the show. It's so boring. Like, just I don't know. So Dave and I just fall asleep like every episode. We're just trying to get it done and get everything watched. But yeah, so boring. Sorry if you love it. I love the idea of it, but
I really don't like Luke Cage.
oh, I love the idea of Luke Cage. I just think it's just the show itself. It doesn't have a good rhythm. It's just boring. It
Because
shouldn't be boring. It
because it
shouldn't
was
be boring.
Netflix that was making it. So
No, because I don't think that some of the others are boring. But that one is
I'm not a
boring.
big fan of pretty much all of them, but
It's because you don't like fun.
I know I'm a hater.
Let's jump into Moon Knight before our episode is over.
Yes.
All right, so Moon Knight is over. If you haven't seen all the episodes, this is a chance where you can either listen to what we have to say and go compare it to what you haven't watched, or push pause right now, come back later after you have watched all of Moon Knight, because we're going to talk about all of it, and spoilers. Are you satisfied with the end of Moon Knight? And I actually got one thing right. They left us hanging a little bit. We are going to move into a new season. They did not wrap everything up, but they left me satisfied with what they did give us answers to.
So, yeah, the last time we talked about it, we were kind of on that cliffhanger of him being in that mental institution, seeing the hippo goddess Tuaret.
Mm-hmm.
And he was dead. So we both were like, okay, they're going to have to team up, fight together to come back. And that is exactly what happens.
I just love this. Like the day of the last episode. So Wednesday morning, Ty texts me at 10 a.m. Did you watch it yet? And I'm like, dude, it's 10 a.m. Like, Dave's not even awake yet. Like, I can't. No, I haven't. Give me a minute. When did you watch it? Did you wake up like at midnight and watch?
Oh no, like I didn't have work that day, and so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go see Multiverse of Madness tonight, and so I'm gonna wrap up Moon Knight.
It's a good day for you. It's a good day for you.
So yeah. No, I just got into it and just seeing stuff, I was like, yes. Oh, my biggest scene that I was kind of losing my mind over was as soon as Layla was like, okay, I'll be your avatar. And Tuaret's like, oh, I have a really cool outfit. She walks out and I'm analyzing really hard, right? And I'm like, okay, I don't see any sign of a scarab. But then she goes, whoosh.
Yeah, this is the thing. Right when
out.
she stepped on screen, Dave and I both went, ooh, that is cool. And then her wings come out. We're like, okay, that's way cooler than Moon Knight.
I was like, oh, yes, I called it right there. We got the Scarlet Scarab coming in. Oh, I was so happy and satisfied as soon as those wings came out. You have no idea.
That's a cool cosplay.
Oh, yeah. No, just the hero in general.
How many are we going to see of those during FanX season?
Right?
Many do you think? Yeah.
I don't know. We should just before FanX, we should throw up a number and see. Be like, hey, I'm calling 5. I'm calling 12.
I mean, we're definitely going to see like 1 million Scarlet Witches. Like, they're just going to be all over the place.
Okay, so what I really liked was he gets the Shopti. They're going to set her free. Mm-hmm. I loved how you went from both croc heads symbolizing, the scales, to no, we're going to deal out the vengeance. So you had the axe head and the croc mouth open up. Like, there's no more scales. It's just one side's going to take it and it's going to deal out the death to everybody.
Yeah.
I liked the avatar symbolism that we got during the big fight scene.
Okay. Yeah, when you had the avatars fighting, like you have them fighting and then you have the gods fighting behind them in a bigger, like I loved that, how you saw it both happening at the same time. I really, really liked that. And I thought it was done, it wasn't too far-fetched. Like you could see that happening in the background and you didn't think, well, that's cheesy. I really liked how they had that going on so you could see both happening. One of my favorite scenes is when they meet each other. He goes back for him in the desert. And he holds
like, Mark.
And they have the heart and they touch hands,
Oh,
and then
that scene, yeah.
yeah, and so they basically have to survive by working together. They have to be together to survive. I really liked that scene and how they both went to like this sand and stone, and then they both like reanimated. And then the big door opens and everything. I liked that scene.
Yeah, so and Oscar Isaacs, this is like,
Yeah,
if he doesn't get nominated for something with this,
he's not. It's not like it's not
because
going to
it's a
get nominated.
superhero thing, which sucks.
Yeah, it's Disney Plus. Um, it's just not going to. I would like to say that it would, because Oscar Isaac should break that barrier, but I just don't think that it's going to. And it would be interesting to see if, for some reason, Kenobi would get nominated because Ewan McGregor. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
anytime we see something like this, even when I mean, The Mandalorian was so well written, so well done, and it got some nominations for like some special effects that were hidden that nobody saw, but it didn't get nominated for anything else. If Oscar Isaac breaks that wall and it gets nominated for something, that would be fantastic. I don't see it happening, but I hope I'm proven wrong.
so there was a scene also that the director came out and said there was a scene that was cut, and it was Mark and Steven confronting the mom, like in
Oh,
the Dumont, where
why
like
did they
her
cut that?
spirit was there, and you had Steven and Mark playing back and forth, telling the mom, like, no, I was a good kid, this wasn't my fault. Like, and it was one of those moments where they're really breaking the chains of what's held Mark down.
Did you see? Is this somewhere we can watch
I
it?
not visible
He
yet.
just explained it.
He just kind of said, my this was an awesome project. Oscar was amazing in every aspect of his acting in this series. And he said, it's a shame though, because there's one scene that was my absolute favorite thing to watch and to put together, and it got cut. And
I
so I
want to
went
see
in
those
and,
in bonus. Like put them on Disney Plus as bonuses
well, I'm saying maybe, guys, we might see it. Cross your fingers. If you don't
in the
know
next
what
series.
Assembled, do you know what that is?
Okay. Mm-mm.
Assemble is
Oh
where,
yes.
yeah, it's a
It's
series on
it's
Disney
like the
Plus.
number one thing that you see right now if you turn Disney Plus on. Assembled is like right there at the top.
And it's kind of like goes into each character
Mm-hmm.
stories, different things as they were working on the MCU. I'm really hoping when they tag into Moon Knight, they'll be like, here's a special little clip that we have decided to bring to you from
Yeah.
season 1 of Moon Knight, because that's one that I would have been like, oh yes, after seeing, because we see all the trauma that the mom caused and the just bad stuff that went on to him as a kid. It would have been kind of the cherry on top
Yeah.
had we met her in the afterlife, and both Steven and Mark.
Well, and we see Steven, because Steven is basically what Mark wanted his life to be like. And so Steven
Yeah.
calls his mom every day and gives her an update on what's going on. You know what I mean? So he would like to have that conversation. And so it's just like the more you think about it after you know more of what the characters have gone through and why Steven even exists, like go back and watch it again, because it's just sad. Like, it's just a sad story.
And so, but I did like how, again, the avatars fighting, you have Harrow and Moon Knight fighting, and then we have Scarlet Scarab coming in. And a lot of people, guys, if this is going to be a big debate, who do you choose? Either Captain America, our current Captain America, or the Scarlet Scarab? And they say, oh, they're just the same a bit. And I'm like, no. If you're going to throw up, which do you pick? I'm sorry, I'm going to go with the godly empowered Scarlet Scarab, sorry. Just because her costume looks cooler. I feel like she has a better backstory and essence. That's
Yeah.
just me, and I'm going to get hate mail, but coming out again as officially the first Egyptian superhero, which...
And I love how they say it in the show. Are you an Egyptian superhero? Yes.
Yeah, the little girl. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so much stuff that was so good about this. I loved also, as soon as Mark and Steven came back to the land of the living,
Mm-hmm.
Khonshu, ditches Layla and she's kind of fighting for herself, and he comes back. I love how he's like, "You're going to argue this and make a deal here?"
Yeah.
And I love how, spoilers for the end of this, we'll talk about it. I love how Khonshu was kind of just playing them.
Yeah.
And this
He
is
was
going
playing him the whole time. And why don't they expect him to do that? Because he hasn't been on the up and up the entire time. So it's not surprising, but it's so maniacal and perfect. That ending scene, I've got to say, like, that ending scene was perfect.
Do you want to jump into it so we can kind
jump
of
into
do
it?
some
Yeah,
comparisons? So
yeah, we've only got like 10 minutes. So
that post-credit scene, guys, if here's the thing too, when I went and watched Doctor Strange, there are people who are leaving after everything, and I'm like, guys, this is a Marvel movie. Wait for the lights to turn on. So at the end of this, I'm like, okay, there has to be a post-credit scene.
There's two. I told you there was two.
Well, I'm saying like Moon Knight. I was like, okay, I need a solid post-credit scene. And again, I'm always hoping to see Blade or something to connect Midnight Sun stuff. But anyways, we see Harrow is now in the psych ward, the actual psych ward.
Yeah.
And you see this mysterious figure speaking in Spanish, saying, "Oh, don't worry about it, love. I'll take him." And you're like, okay, what's going on? Then you pan past and you see some of the orderlies there who are dead and bleeding on the floor. I already knew what was coming.
Yeah, me too. I was waiting, and I'm like tapping Dave. I'm like, he's coming. Yeah.
And then as soon as we get outside and you see the reflection in the window and you see the newsy hat and everything, I'm like, there he is. It's Jake Lockley. Come on. Let's go. And so another fun thing, I loved how we used the white limousine.
Oh my gosh.
Straight from the books.
Okay, I was going to ask about that because that was so gangsta. Like, that was like a mob move if I'd ever seen one in a Marvel movie. Like, it was, yeah.
So you have the white limousine, which is a huge, huge callback to the books, because before we get a little bit of a different origin in this movie, but the old books, Mr. Knight was driven around in this white limousine when he would go investigate the crime scene and do his, detective work and everything.
Bougie.
He was bougie as, yeah. And so you have Harrow sitting in there, and then the thing, oh my gosh, Khonshu in his white suit.
Yeah.
I love the visuals when the MCU or, any other DC, any other comic book entity gives you a very specific visual straight from their books. I'm all over it. I eat it up. And so and the pose, the same thing, same exact scene in the books. He's sitting in the back of a limo, white suit, hands crossed, legs crossed, coming in, kind of being all, again, bougie.
It's a little fan service happening, service.
Major fan service. I couldn't have been the only one just losing their minds over all this. And so he said, we see how he's so shady because he's like, oh, he really thought I wanted Layla. Why would I want Layla when I have the perfect avatar already? It's ridiculous. I'd like you to meet my friend, Jake Lockley. And when that name dropped, and you see him look back, pull out the pistol, and just silently, 007 him. Oh, man. I was like, hey, the series was originally supposed to just be a one-off.
Was it?
Yeah. Moon Knight was supposed to be a limited series.
Well, limited series can still be 3 seasons.
Okay. They were still playing. I felt like they were playing that this was just going to be like a one and done, and we'd see him pop up in the MCU. But I'm like, oh, no way. You cannot do one and then involve Jake and then just
Yeah.
go cold turkey from there. So, the other little Easter egg that was awesome, the license plate on the front of the limousine, if you notice, said Spectre.
Yeah, I did notice that, and I was like, Bond? James Bond? Because Spectre is
Spectre
like,
is
to
Jake's
me,
persona.
okay, because that was a Bond reference to me, and I'm like, okay, so Bond and Marvel both have Spectre happening, so Spectre is
Jake Lockley's
okay.
entity of Moon Knight.
Okay.
And guys, we were right. Me and Val both. Well, I'm proud of Val because she was catching it before I even said anything. You
I
know,
did one thing right.
there were scenes in the season where both Steven and Mark would black out, and they're like, "What
I
just
didn't do that.
happened?"
Was that you? Yeah.
And then I'm gonna go one even further and say, on episode 3, I believe it is, when he's chilling in the hotel room drinking his liquor in Cairo, I
Yeah.
want to say that was Jake.
Yeah, I think that was him kind of coming through. Um, because I don't see, to me, that didn't seem like something that Mark was going to do. He doesn't seem like he lets himself get wasted. He's got to be in control of
Of the
everything all
situation.
the time.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that for me that was a little off character, and I was trying to think like how that doesn't seem like that was him. So I want to believe that that wasn't Mark. I mean, it definitely wasn't Steven. So
I'm saying that's definitely Jake in that scene.
yeah.
And that's the funny thing, like, you know, when Harrow has his staff and he's got him pinned down to the ground, next thing you know, Layla's like, "Are you okay? Like, what just happened?" Jake is the one who you think Mark is the guy who comes out and gets everything done, but no, when Mark's pinned, Jake just comes out and everybody's dead.
Well, and the thing is I also don't see Mark as the one that's walking around London picking up chicks and setting dates up with them either.
Yeah, no, that's definitely
So like
that's
the
Jake.
lady that worked with Steven that thought they had a date together, that wasn't with Mark or Steven. That to me
Oh, it
was
was
with
Jake.
Jake. Yeah.
Yep, totally with Jake. That's what I'm saying. So with Khonshu doing this, he didn't essentially set him free because the Moon Knight still resides inside of
Right.
Steven and Mark. What's going to hopefully, well, not hopefully, this is what I'm projecting. This is my kind of bit for what's
Prediction.
coming. Yeah, the prediction here is Khonshu and the three of them have a very, even Jake, right now, Jake is like, I work for Khonshu, I do as Khonshu says. That's it. It becomes to the point where the three of them, Jake, Mark, and Steven, all become pretty much what Steven and Mark just went through, right? They have the major bond. It becomes the three of them. And Khonshu, with this bumpy relationship and bumpy road, there's a storyline where Mark is going in to see a psychiatrist. We already got a little bit of that in this season. The psychiatrist knows about Khonshu. And she feels that she has been dealt a very bad wrong. And so during their session, she says, I relinquish myself as an avatar for Khonshu. Khonshu accepts and leaves the three of them. And it's kind of like an existential crisis where they lose their powers. And they're again stuck in a psych ward, and he has to fight his way out. Khonshu sees that this chick's motives are actually not very just. And it's this bumpy road where they lose him, they gain him back kind of thing. So that's my prediction.
So you think they're going to be back in the psych ward?
Not that one. I think they will end up in another one. Yeah. It's a constant thing. It's a theme with the character.
Oh, okay.
So I think we're going to see the struggle of them losing and then winning back Khonshu.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm excited to see what goes. So what new characters are we going to see, do you think, in this next season?
I would have said Spectre, because Spectre wasn't always Jake Lockley's persona. Spectre was a villain who was an ex-cop who had worked with Moon Knight, seen that Moon Knight was being glorified, and was like, I'm tired of being a cop. I'm going to go just kill people and do this and be the vigilante. But then he catches Mark, and he wasn't expecting Mark to put up such a fight, and Mark straight up kills him.
Okay.
Because it's kill or be killed in that situation. And then that's when he takes up the persona of Spectre. So I would have said if we have some kind of form of that, that would have been cool. Let's see. Who else would I like to see? I'm just trying to pull up a list real quick of villains and heroes I would like to see. Oh,
I really hope that because I was hoping at the end that we were gonna meet the mom or see flashbacks of the mom, and when you said that they did already shoot some of that, I'm hoping that that comes in because I feel like that plays an important part of the story. But I hope we also get to see more of Layla and what her story is. Do you think that we're going to be able? Do you think they're going to dive a little deeper into that?
Yeah, and I think the relationship might get better. So we're going to see them come closer, but then Jake is going to come in the picture and possibly jeopardize that. Jake might somewhat be the villain of his own story. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
You have the two heroes and then the villain, but yet they all occupy the same body.
Yeah.
And so we might see Jake coming in playing somewhat of the villain and then getting closer to his other two selves and overcoming that. I'm really hoping season 2 actually ties. I'm going to keep spitting this out. I need something to lead to a Midnight Suns crisis.
Okay. And I think, and what would that entail?
I'm hoping we see either Dracula come up.
Okay.
Okay. Actually, too, I'm almost guaranteeing we'll see Moon Knight make a special appearance in Werewolf by Night, the special that we're supposed to get this October.
Okay.
Because that's where Moon Knight actually first appears.
Okay.
Is in issue number it's either 27 or 37 of Moon by Night. Moon Knight was brought in as a side character, but had gained so much popularity that they're like, hey, we need to give him his own origin story and comic run.
Okay.
So
it would be a given that that they gave us this first, and then they bring that out during Halloween, and that they tie it together.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to get out before we end today's episode? What is your final grade for the Moon Knight?
Oh, Moon Knight, I'm going to give this one an A. I will be rewatching this over and over.
I'm still with my solid B. I'm entertained. I'm intrigued. I like it. But I wasn't I definitely want to go back, and now that I know the story,
it's like Fight Club.
What I didn't know, I want to go back and see what I didn't see. But no, I definitely think it's not my overall favorite. But I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see what they have coming for sure. And I like that we're seeing different, more inclusive superheroes, because it's not like they're not out there. There are hundreds and hundreds of comic book stories that include all different types of superheroes and supervillains that represent so many different people. And I'm glad that we're finally seeing them instead of the same thing over and over and over. But yeah, do not miss our big deep dive into the Multiverse of Madness Monday night with our buddies over at Movies That Make Us and a couple of special guests. What did you think of Moon Knight? We want to know your thoughts. You can go ahead and write them in the comments below. Please, please, please follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on the Facebook and all of the other. We need to be better at Instagram. I'm just going to say that right now. We need to be better. But yeah, follow us, and then please join us for the conversation on Monday night, because we want to know what you thought of the Multiverse of Madness. Go see it, then go see it again. And we have kind of we kind of have our own thoughts about what's coming next and what some of these things mean in the next phase of the MCU. So anything else you want to say, Ty, before we're out today?
Go read a comic book.
But which one?
Oh, go check our last episode. There's a good list
Let's
to get you
all right.
started.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.